Welcome back to Roxy Recapped, and today I am going to explain the movie Finding Dory. Released in the year 2016. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens with a 5-year-old blue tang practicing introducing herself with her parents, Charlie and Jenny. They start a game of hide and seek with her, but as soon as she starts counting, she forgets about the game. Seeing the look on her parents' faces, she says, "Did I forget again?" Jenny tells her not to worry, and she asks what will happen if she forgets her parents. Weeks later, Dory was swimming in the ocean alone, asking other fish for help, but since she couldn't remember anything, nobody could help her. "Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming," she sang to herself, and then fell asleep. Years later, Dory is still lost and unable to remember her family. She sees a boat cruise by over her head, and a clownfish named Marlin smacks into her. After Dory and Marlin rescued his son, Nemo, she stayed with them at the Great Barrier Reef. They all swim up to Mr. Ray, who is leading the class on a field trip. Dory volunteers to go along as an assistant, and Mr. Ray reluctantly agrees. He talks to the class about migration, and tells them that it's about going home. One kid asks Dory where her home is. The word home triggers a flash of a memory in her mind, but she quickly loses it. Mr. Ray takes the class to the edge of the reef and reminds them to be careful of the undertow. Again, the word makes Dory remember something, but she soon gets lost in thought. A school of rays swims by causing the grass to sway in their wake. The swaying grass entrances Dory, who remembers two fish saying, "Watch out, kelp cake, and you have to stay away from the undertow." She swims near the rays and gets sucked into the undertow. Dory remembers being pulled away from her parents, and then everything going black. Mr. Ray finds her lying in the sand, and she murmurs Jewel of Morro Bay, California. When she wakes up, she realizes that she had a memory, something that never happened before. When Marlin arrives, Dory is still excited about the memory, although she can't remember what it was. Nemo repeats what she had said, and she has a flood of memories. She remembers her family and realizes that they're still out in the ocean somewhere, with no idea where she is. She sets out for the Jewel of Morro Bay with Marlin and Nemo following to keep her out of trouble. Marlin has an idea for how to get where they're going quickly. Marlin's friend, a turtle named Crush, has the three of them on his shell, taking them through the California current. They jump off and see a sunken container ship, and a group of hermit crabs taking cover. The crabs shush Dory when she tries to ask for help, triggering another memory. As a young fish, she swam past a sunken ship and asked a group of crabs for help finding her parents, Jenny and Charlie, and they quickly shushed her. Back in the present, she tells Marlin that she remembers her parents' names. She swims around shouting their names with the crabs still trying to shush her. She swims up to a container, and a squid pops out and chases her. The three of them swim as fast as they can with the squid in pursuit. Dory gets caught in a plastic six-pack ring. They swim through a small hole into a container, and the squid shakes it, causing other containers to fall. In the scuffle, the squid grabs Nemo and pulls him toward its mouth. Marlin grabs Nemo, and a container hits the floor, causing the trio to be launched to safety, landing in a kelp bed. Marlin rushes over to console his trembling son, and Dory asks if she can do anything to help. Marlin responds, "You know what you can do, Dory. You can wait over there." Hurt, Dory decides to go get help, and she swims off, unseen. She hears a voice say, "Won't you please join us as we explore the wonders of the Pacific Ocean?" She follows the mysterious voice. When Marlin realizes that she swam off, he goes out to find her and sees a pair of hands scoop her out of the water. The humans pull her into their boat and remove the plastic ring around her. Then they put her in a cooler and shut the lid. The ship heads toward the shore with Marlin and Nemo frantically swimming after it. And then, the boat goes out of sight. The cooler lid opens, and two staff workers dump Dory into a large tank, and clip an orange tag to her fin, and then leave the room. A seven-legged octopus named Hank had been disguising himself against a wall by changing color to match it. He slips over to Dory's tank asking her why she's in quarantine. Spotting her tag, he tells her that she's going to be transported to an aquarium in Cleveland. She says that she has to find her family in the Jewel of Morro Bay, and he responds that she's already there. Hank tells her that if she gives him her tag, she'll be able to stay and find her parents. While he goes to the aquarium, she asks why he wants to go there, and he says he doesn't want to be released back into the ocean, since he has bad memories from there. He just wants to go to Cleveland and live the rest of his life alone. Dory agrees to give him her tag after he helps her find her parents. He grabs an empty coffee pot and uses it to scoop her out of the tank. Outside, Marlin and Nemo swim up to the building, finding a pair of sea lions, Fluke and Rudder, who explain that in the Institute, fish are rehabilitated and released, as they themselves were recently. Marlin tells them that he needs to get in the building, and they say they know a way, and then make strange uru noises. Hank is taking Dory down the hallway, and she sees a map on a wall. He brings her closer, and she sees a purple shell. That triggers another memory of her parents laying purple shells all around their coral home. Just then, a staffer walks in. Hank camouflages himself, and Dory sees the staffer holding a bucket that has the word Destiny printed on it. Dory gets an idea and jumps in the bucket, which is full of dead fish. The staffer grabs her and a bunch of the other fish and tosses them into a huge tank. There is a group of children outside the tank, and a tour guide tells them that there is a whale shark named Destiny in the tank. Destiny is nearsighted and has trouble swimming around the tank, but Dory stops her before she smacks the glass. She recognizes Dory's voice and tells her that they were childhood friends. Destiny tells Dory that she's from the open ocean exhibit, and Dory asks her to take her there. Destiny tells her that she doesn't have any way to travel around. A beluga whale named Bailey is in the next tank, and Destiny tells Dory that he was brought in with a head injury. She says he thinks he can't use echolocation anymore, even though the staff have examined him and found nothing wrong. Camouflaging himself as a toy, Hank gets tossed into the tank. He demands her tag in return for showing her the map. Destiny tells Dory that she can get to the open ocean exhibit by going through the pipes, taking 2 lefts and swimming straight. Dory worries that she won't remember the directions, and Hank tells her there's no other way. His words trigger another memory of young Dory trying to pry a shell loose from the sand. She thinks there's no other way to get the shell, and is about to give up when her dad tells her that there's always another way and uses his tail to wiggle the shell loose. There's always another way. She swims to the surface and sees the open ocean building over the hill. She also spots a rack of baby strollers, and she tells Hank she will use one of them to get across the park. Fluke and Rudder are calling a loon named Becky, and they tell Marlin that she can fly them in. They climb into a bucket that Becky picks up and flies into the building. Inside, Dory and Hank are hiding in a stroller. Hank steers the stroller while Dory navigates. He tells her to find a sign that says open ocean to get to the exhibit. They bump into a boy who spills his popcorn on the floor. Flying in, Becky sees the popcorn, leaves the bucket hanging on a tree branch, and flies down to eat it. Coming to an intersection, Hank asks which way to go, and Dory sees a sign that reads, "The world's most powerful pair of glasses," and an arrow points to the left. She tells Hank that she remembers that, and they need to go left. She doesn't notice that the sign also says open ocean, with an arrow pointing right. Marlin and Nemo are stuck in the bucket with Becky still eating popcorn. Marlin tries to inch the bucket forward to get within Becky's earshot, and it tips over, dumping them out and into a tank of toy fish in the gift shop. Becky finishes eating and grabs the bucket again, and flies off to the roof of the quarantine building. She looks in the bucket and finds it empty. Dory and Hank pull up to the sea otter tank, and Hank asks why she led them there. She tells him that she remembered something about glasses and followed that. The stroller rolls downhill, and they're launched into the kids' touch pool. Dodging kids' hands, she swims up to the camouflaged Hank and pulls him along. A kid's hand touches Hank and he inks, turning the pool black and scaring off all the kids. Hank can't believe that her idea had saved them. Dory sees a sign that reads echolocation, the world's most powerful pair of glasses, and Hank shows her that the wall opened to reveal the open ocean exhibit. Inside the toy tank, Marlin and Nemo see a group of fountains with streams of water shooting between them. They jump out of the tank and catch a water stream, jumping from one to the next. Hank holds Dory in a plastic cup and sneaks across the room to the open ocean exhibit. She hands him her tag and he drops her into the tank. On the floor, she sees a trail of shells. Another memory pops into her mind, and she remembers her parents placing shells in a line. They tell her that if she ever gets lost, she can just follow the shells back home. Dory follows the trail of shells and finds her childhood home, but her parents are nowhere to be found. She sees a purple shell which triggers another memory of her parents, warning her to stay away from the undertow. She swims to an outflow pipe, and another memory pops up of her overhearing a conversation between her parents. They worry that something bad will happen to her one day. Young Dory looked around for something to make her mom happy, finding a purple shell in the distance. Dory swam out to the shell and got sucked away by the undertow. Dory realizes that it's her fault her parents aren't there. A crab named Harold tells her that all of the blue tangs who were there got taken into quarantine and are being put on a truck bound for Cleveland. Carol says that Dory can get to quarantine by swimming through the pipes. Nervously, Dory swims into the pipes, quickly forgetting which way she's going. She calls out to Destiny and asks for help. Destiny tells Bailey to use echolocation to help Dory. Bailey is convinced that it won't work, but gives it a try anyway and is surprised that he can visualize a map of the pipes. He guides her toward quarantine, but then he senses something else in the pipes. He tries to have Dory swim away, but she keeps swimming closer. Dory is surprised to see Marlin and Nemo in the pipes, and they all hug. She tells them that her parents are going to be shipped away, and they head to quarantine. They see a tank of blue tangs across the room and swim up to the surface and jump from tank to tank. Just when they get to the last tank, it gets lifted up, and they hit the side and fall into a mop bucket. Camouflaged, Hank reaches in and pulls them out, putting them in a beaker. Dory introduces Hank to Marlin and Nemo, and Hank drops them into the tank of tangs. Dory looks around but can't find her parents anywhere. The other tangs tell her that they knew her parents. After she got lost as a child, her parents thought she must have ended up in quarantine. They came to look for her, but that was years ago. The tangs tell Dory that when a fish doesn't make it back from quarantine, it means they're gone. Sadly, Dory backs into the beaker, and Hank pulls her out. He asks where Marlin and Nemo are and sees them get loaded onto the truck. A staffer grabs Hank, and he drops the beaker. He slaps at the staffer, who lets him go, and he quickly camouflages himself and looks at the spot where the beaker fell. He sees Dory get sucked into a drain that goes to the ocean. In the ocean, Dory finds a trail of shells and follows them to a home made from a tire. Seeing two fish off in the distance, she swims toward them and realizes that they're her parents. They swim up to her and hug her. They tell her that after they didn't find her in quarantine, they figured she must have gone out the pipes. They laid out shells every day, hoping she'd see them and come back home. They ask her if she's been alone all these years. Suddenly, she remembers Marlin and Nemo. Inside the truck, Hank reveals himself to Marlin and Nemo and tells them that he lost Dory. Dory is swimming through the water, catching her parents up on everything that's happened to her. Suddenly, she hears the announcer voice from the Marine Life Institute. The next thing she hears is a truck starting up, and she remembers that Marlin and Nemo are on it. She calls out to Destiny and she and Bailey jump over the walls of the tank, landing in the ocean next to Dory. They all swim after the truck using a group of otters to stop traffic. One of the otters carries Dory into the back of the truck, and Hank puts her in the tank with Marlin and Nemo. Marlin calls out to Becky, who flies in with her bucket. Marlin and Nemo jump in, but Becky flies off before Dory can join them. Becky dumps them into the ocean, right next to Destiny. She asks where Dory is, and Marlin tells them she's still in the truck. Marlin calls Becky and tells her to fly back to the truck and get Dory. Hank reaches into the tank for Dory, but she doesn't want him to leave her, and she gets him to agree to join her in the ocean. Just then, a staffer slams the back door and drives the truck away. Destiny swims after them but can't keep up. Dory sees a vent in the roof, and Hank grabs her and moves toward it. Hank and Dory squeeze through the vent, and Hank plasters himself across the windshield, forcing the driver to stop. When the driver walks out, Hank shuts the door and locks it, taking control of the truck. He drives off with Dory navigating. She sees a car pulling a boat and follows it. Dory sees a splat on the windshield and sees that it came from a flock of seagulls heading left. She has Hank follow them and they drive up a hill. Dory sees the ocean at the bottom, and she tells Hank to floor it. The truck falls off the edge of a cliff and tumbles toward the ocean. sending all the fish inside flying. Dory and Hank happily plunge into the ocean below. Back at the Great Barrier Reef, Dory is playing hide and seek with the students. Hank tells them that Mr. Ray is away on migration, and until he gets back, Hank will be their substitute teacher. Bailey and Destiny tell the kids about a cholocation. Dory tells her parents that she'll see them in a while, but she wants to do something first. She swims off, with Marlin following after her, trying to keep himself hidden. She swims up to the edge of the drop-off, then calls out to Marlin, who sheepishly swims up to her. She tells him that she enjoys the view, and they both look out into the ocean. Unforgettable, she says. That was all from the video. I hope you like it. Don't forget subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. Take care.